Hey, what's up, my friends? You know me, Sean Green from SoccerCoachTV. I am here today with MarkSmith from Macomb and Macomb County in Michigan. Hey, Mark.
Yep,
So
Macomb
Mark,
County, beautiful, just outside of Detroit.
Mark's a big fan of SoccerCoachTV. He's watched this a lot online, followed this, and we had a great conversation the other day. And Mark was telling me about this incredible venture he wants to go on and build one of the best and finest sports facilities, not just out there in Michigan, but will be comparable with anywhere in the United States. Mark, welcome to SoccerCoachTV.
Thanks so much. Oh, what a pleasure. I love watching you, Sean. It's incredible. The guests you have, the insight you have, love it. Glad to be here.
I appreciate that. I had a soccer player from Michigan once, great guy, Blaine Valdheis, and he was from Ann Arbor. That's in Michigan, correct?
Not far from us, yeah.
Yeah, super guy. I don't think I've ever been to Michigan. Tell me about it right now. I mean, is it, you guys, how are you holding up there? Are you guys back to normal a little bit, or?
Well, we've got the whole COVID-19 thing going on. So we've got a lot of businesses that are struggling to say, hey, we want to get back out there. Everybody's trying to be as safe as they can, but I think there comes a balance to say, hey, we got to get small businesses back out there working. So I think it's a little contentious right now, but Michiganders, we're strong. We fight through things and we'll come out stronger on the other end.
Well, I know your wife works in the hospital. She's right there in the front line. So listen, all our fans here, I just wish you the best. And those are the true warriors who are on that fight on a daily basis. And without them, God knows how this situation would be. So please send her regards from SoccerCoachTV and our respect, much respect. Mark, listen, I'm very interested in your story and what you're trying to achieve. In SoccerCoachTV, we tell people to think out the box. We tell people to dream big, and it's no good having ambitions in life if you never really act on them. Right. You can have dreams, but if you never really act on them, it's worthless. So tell me a little bit about, first, before we get into this fantastic facility that you're going to build, tell me a little bit about why soccer.
Well, it's a great thing.
Why did you get into it?
I guess we can ask the billions of fans around the world why soccer, right? But it's the beautiful game. When I was a younger man and my son was growing up, like many dads, you say, okay, you kind of, are voluntold that you're going to coach.
Yes.
So we said, all right, great. So we started getting into it. And as you get into the soccer family, you start thinking about the other kids and, usually, the kids who kind of need help paying for it, other parents come together and pay for that child without saying a word to anybody else. And you just see kind of the love and the family that's there with soccer. And we fell in love with it, but we quickly realized that, when the weather's beautiful outside, and in Michigan, we get 7 months, 8 months of that.
Right.
So we said, well, we need an indoor facility. Well, people around Macomb County travel about 45 minutes to an hour to get to an indoor facility they can play games at, train at. And so it was, that kind of thought where, we said, you know what, we've got to do something here locally, but we've got to do it state of the art. We got to make it where people feel safe and proud to play and allow people to not only play games there and tournaments, practices, but also get in the weight room there, watch game film there. That was our big thing. So that started this thought of a soccer facility, which turned into a multi-sport facility, which turned into really a physical fitness and mental wellness facility as well.
So it's all encompassing, right?
Well, we're trying. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the facility itself. I'm looking at these diagrams right here.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, this looks fantastic. It looks unbelievable. These are an artist's rendition of what this place will finally look like. But I'm looking at the specs of is it going to be called the Smith Arena? Is that going to be the official title of the facility?
Yep. So we call it Smith Arenas, and it's one of those things where, very common last name, but what we tried to do is we tried to take it. It's more of an acronym, right? That really deals with a lot of the pillars that we hold true for ourselves. And so when you look through that acronym and you look at what a Smith is, we thought, this is the kind of facility that's going to forge the future of local sports. And that's what we want to do. So it's all about mindfulness and sportsmanship and teamwork. And that's what we're all about. So as we did that, we know there's going to be some elite athletes who come through this, but we also wanted to make it inclusive where we have some kids out there maybe aren't gifted athletically, but I'll tell you, probably really good at eSports, right? We can play, have video game teams and all that.
Well, one of the biggest challenges, I'm going to get into some details about the facility in a second, but sure. I worked before I came to the United States. I worked for about a year in a huge, big leisure center. I was fortunate that one of my coaches he ran the place. So he gave me a job for a year before I went to college here. And my job I was challenged, Mark, to fill this huge recreation center during the day. It's easy to fill it after 4 o'clock, right?
Sure.
Everybody's out of work. Everybody's there. You can run 5-a-side leagues. You can run basketball. You can do. Everybody's available. But how about 10 o'clock in the morning on a Monday morning? Who the hell do you get in the facility? Yes. And it wasn't like at one of these Planet Fitness places, with a gym and this and that, big basketball courts and squash courts and everything. So, what I did, I come up with different plans to bring people into that facility. And I'll give you an example of some of them. One of them was I started this fitness class for housewives who stay at home, okay? And I had 20 women on a Monday, 20 women Tuesday, 20 women Wednesday. You come once a week, 6 weeks. Each week, the first week, back then, it wasn't like CrossFit, today. Back then, it was just calisthenics. And my only reference was like Jane Fonda, Richard Simmons, that was it. The only ones who had tapes out back then. So we would do calisthenics on some rubber mats, and then we'd take a break after about 40 minutes, and we'd go into this little canteen area. And I used to make them a big pot of tea, and the women would sit around smoking the cigarettes. Right?
Sure.
I would serve them tea, and I'm telling you, I was like 19. The stories I heard from these housewives, it's just like it was being in the lion's den there. It was abusive. And then the second period, I would have them, I'd introduce them to a new sport. So I'd introduce women to playing indoor soccer or volleyball. And some days, actually, we went to the ice rink, we went horse riding, we did different things away from the facility. And the second one was I did an indoor classes every week for senior citizens. And you see, most of the senior citizens' homes have transportation. And they want to get the senior citizens out in the community and socialize, stuff like this. So they're more than willing to drive, 3 or 4 senior citizens. So I contacted all the senior citizen centers in that city and around. And I had about 30 senior citizens, and we did dance. I invited the local dance instructor from his studio to promote it, come down, show us how to ballroom dance. Or I had the local karate expert who has a gym come down, show them some self-defense. Mm-hmm. And then all exercises we did were sitting on chairs, standing up, doing something. But you got to, I guess my whole point is that you got to be successful, I'd imagine, in a facility like this, the overhead is going to be enormous. So what are your plans to try and fill this place at 9 o'clock in the morning?
I love it. Yeah.
Or even in the summer when it's, 100 degrees out, or 80 degrees out.
You've nailed it, right? So you're an esteemed soccer coach, an esteemed professor, right? And then at the age of 19, a master marketer. And what you did is you got your community involved. You saw what the needs were, what people wanted to do, and that's where you did it. So for us, we actually are going to open up at 7 a.m. And so what we do is we focus throughout the week on our senior population. So much like you said with the calisthenics, big thing for us, pickleball is really big. Walking.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So we get a lot.
What's pickleball again? What is it again?
Pickleball is an interesting sport. And I'll tell you, Sean, I got to invite you to Michigan. We're going to play. You're going to love it. It is, imagine if you mixed ping pong and tennis, right? So small court, you're playing with a wiffle ball, right? Pickleball ball, but they say wiffle ball, some graphite paddles, and, much like tennis, and you're hitting it back and forth with a team, but your goal is not hard strikes and putting crazy spin on the ball. It's more of finesse, right? And getting up to the net and just trying to outsmart your opponent. Beautiful game.
Cornhole?
Of course we got to have cornhole. Yeah.
I've never played it. I think I've played it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got a lot of that. We even have areas that are set up where people can come together and not, they don't have to engage and play sports. They can walk around the facility, right? It's, oh my gosh, it's more than a quarter mile going around the facility. So we'll have a little walking track indoor, walking track out of doors. A lot of things to do inside, especially when you talked about the the mothers coming over. We have mommy and me programs. We have little kickers programs. So when we stay busy, we look from 7 a.m. to about 3 or 4, where we have these senior programs. Yep. Single parents, right? Small kids. All those programs go out throughout the day. And I love that you brought in even, yoga instructors and karate instructors. Those are the people. We even have gyms, right? Those small spaces for yoga, for dojos, things like that, where they can be leased as needed by the local community.
Well, I actually contacted the local unemployment department, and all these people who did not have jobs, young guys, come straight out of high school. Now, I came from a very working class city in Newcastle at the time. It's changed. It's an unbelievable city now, a lot of money. But back then, it was hard to get a job. So these young kids were graduating high school, and some of them older, couldn't find jobs. They'd go and pick up their unemployment check and, had nothing to do. Normally sit around drinking, some of them. But I approached the unemployment office and said, look, we've got a great facility here during the day. It'd be great to get these kids in doing something active, doing something constructive. And so they actually paid us. And if you were unemployed, you could use the facility for free, 2 or 3 times a week. But they paid us. We came in. I had all these kids unemployed and the soccer fanatics. And we had running like an indoor soccer league.
Right.
But again, you've got to be, you have to, it sounds like you hit it right on the head, though. You've nailed it down. You're really thinking out the box in terms of, what you need to do. I had a friend who tried to do, for many years, tried to build not as big as this, but certainly an indoor facility here in Connecticut, and there was a need for it. But the big deal breaker for him was they wouldn't give him an alcohol permit, because he did want to put a bar, make a social atmosphere. He could serve food, but he couldn't serve alcohol. And that, I think for him, that was a deal breaker. He really wanted to make it a very social kind of setting, where you could have a drink, watch games, you'd be a spectator. Will you have an alcohol license there, or serving meals there at the facility?
Yeah. So ours, it's funny you mentioned that, like, as you hear me talk, you can kind of tell it's a very social atmosphere, right? It's a family oriented thing. So while we won't have an alcohol license, we'll have a beer and wine resort license. So no hard alcohol, but moms and dads love a glass of wine.
I'm there. Count me in, brother.
Yeah.
Give me a glass of Merlot, and I'll be the first one. I'll be at the opening. I'll cut the ribbon for you. Well, tell me about how big is Smith Arena going to be?
Just over 250,000 square feet.
Wow.
So yeah, when you look at it, you look at the building itself and the parking lot, couple of fields, couple of pitches outside, sand volleyball courts outside. You're looking at about 30 acres of space, and we'll sit on an 85-acre plot of land. All
turf fields? Any grass fields?
We're going to try to do, we're going to start off with some grass. We're going to try to convert to turf as quickly as possible. There are some facilities like in Schaumburg, Illinois. Nike has their tournament that's done out there. Beautiful, all turf fields, gorgeous. No matter how hard it rains, they drain beautifully. So we're going to try to do that. The nice thing about that is we can do soccer out there. We can do lacrosse out there. We can do football out there. Really have a ton of fun. And I'll tell you, one thing that we keep hearing about that people almost demand, you got to have a lot of sand volleyball. So we definitely have room. Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. We're hearing that from
other local colleges who could use this facility too as their home base. Is there any schools or colleges out there that are close to you?
Yeah, we've got a number of colleges and universities that are over here. A lot of athletes that are there as well. They've got their own facilities that they can use, which is nice. We've got even local community colleges that could use it. Our goal is to be community oriented. So if those guys are redoing their floors, if they're putting in new turf, whatever it might be, we're ready.
I know if it's anything like Connecticut. I mean, our university, we don't have an enclosed indoor turf facility. So, I was thinking, but we do go out and rent it,
Right,
during the winter months, we have to find a place. So we'll travel 15 minutes in a van to practice indoor 3 times a week off campus, Yeah. So I can only imagine there's got to be organizations out there like universities who don't have that kind of facility, or schools that would probably embrace this facility.
Yeah. And it's not just universities. It's, a lot of the local clubs. So we've got some semi-pro soccer teams. that have outdoor fields, no indoor fields, right?
Any concerts?
Any with the concerts? Oh,
Yeah.
I would love that. Yeah.
I mean,
we don't
if
have
you
any plan, but hey,
if it's big enough, right? I mean,
sure,
why
sure.
not?
You definitely have the room. So yeah, we'll have to get some good music in there.
So let me ask you, what is your biggest challenge, Mark? I mean, from the start, how much did you have input into the actual design of the facility? Was it your creation, or did you hire an architect and he said, look, this is how I envision it? Or were you pretty clear on your vision on how you wanted it to look?
No, I think when you look at it, I've got a vision. My son, Aaron, is involved. My daughter, Sydney, is involved. My wife, Marcy. We all are a part of it, but we are a part of a team of folks who are doing this. So we've got family and friends that are part of this, which God bless them. We've got some investors who are part of this. So what we try to do is we try to get together with the architects, the engineers. We have consultants, sports facility advisory, who are phenomenal, who really help us out with this design to say, how do we make this the most effective for the community, meet all the needs, and of course, when you look at it business-wise, how do you maximize revenues per square foot, right? And I don't say that to be greedy. I say that to say, let's not just have wide open spaces that can't be used, but what can kids come and use? What can parents use? So for example, one of those is when you're there as a parent and your child is there practicing, you're there about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And, if they're working out first, watching game film, then on the pitch, you've got a lot of time you're there. So that's why we wanted to have the bar upstairs, which is nice. But we also have virtual golf up there, which is great. So you can, get in a league and play a little virtual.
That's great. A little bit of advice though. What I would say, my experience in indoor facilities that I've been to, and from a coach's perspective, is that you bring your indoor team in there, you bring your team in, you're playing in a league, you're the next game up, so you're waiting, you're probably standing behind these big massive nets that they have surrounding it, and you've got 15-20 minutes to warm up, and you end up inevitably warming up on the pathway, the rubber pathway that people walk around on.
Yep.
So sprint, extend the field by 10 yards or 15 yards each side, so behind the goal is a net or whatever it is, but have a designated warm-up area. Even if it's just, 15 yards by 15 yards or 20 yards, and it makes such a difference in terms of preparation for these coaches going in, because normally these kids are, and some of them don't even warm up indoors because, just waiting to get on to the next game.
Right. You got just enough time to change your socks. Well, here's what you'll love. So that was one of those things we thought about. And, as we talk to the coaches, that's a big thing. I don't know any facilities that have that. Usually you go in there, you change your socks, you put on your gear, you get your boots on and you're ready to go. Your warm up is the 5 minutes right before the game, right? Kick it a little bit. That's it. We actually made our fields. We extended it. So you have 18 yards behind the net, drop down curtains. So not just netting, but actual curtains. So you're blocked from gameplay. And so it's 18 yards by 70 yards of warm-up practice area that the team can use. And that's an hour at a time, right? So coaches can, and we separate them too, where one team can be on one side, one team on the other. And so coaches can run through drills and the boys are ready when it's game time. So
when did you have this epiphany? How long ago was it when you?
That was probably when we were first designing it. We sat down with the architects the first time, and there were a couple of key pieces we wanted. Number one was we wanted the pitch to be full playing size, where if we have semi-professional teams coming in and professional teams playing, they could play and feel like, this gives us the room we need. The ceiling height is high enough, right, with 65-foot ceilings, so we're not going to hit beams all the time. I think our other one, we wanted fans to be able to watch, but to be comfortable. So we talked about putting backs on the seats, right? Rocking a little bit, a little more comfortable. And then, that was my son who said, listen, a big thing, if you want to give an advantage to teams, give them an area to warm up longer than the 5 minutes before the game. Give them a half hour where they can run through drills and be really effective come game time.
And not only that, I can only imagine in just your local community, the jobs you're creating too.
Oh, it creates a lot. Yeah, I think we love it, right? For the fact that you can bring in a lot of young professionals, a lot of people with different backgrounds to come in and really make an impact. And I think that's our goal here. I think, Sean, come the days when you and I are long gone, this facility is still there. We're seeing, I'd love to see a lot of people use this where we see young professionals coming out where you go, hey, Macomb County. Oh, and he's playing in the MLS now, right? Hey, he's playing over at Liverpool. Yeah, it's great. Love to see that type of thing. And I think this will be around long enough where it'll have a legacy. So I'm really loving that.
So when is there a target date for it to construction to start on this facility?
Yeah. So, while we're trying to battle through COVID, we're delayed a bit, but yeah, I think what we'd like to do is get this up by next fall. So fall of 2021, we'd love to be able to have this up and running. So kids can use it, throughout the winter time and really launch. So that's our goal right now.
Right. So you're going to break ground in 21 and, okay. Let me ask you a couple of tough questions here now.
Sure.
This must cost a fortune to build, right? I mean, honestly, this is no small feat right here. And it's a lengthy process. And what's the estimated cost to build this facility, let alone run it?
Yeah. So you look at a facility like this, and we're looking at about $32 million.
Okay.
So to me, I took back all my pop cans. Didn't quite come up with it. So I think for us, I mean, when you look at something, the folks who we're in there with, friends, family, we've all put in our money. I mean, talk about draining accounts. This is jumping out of the plane and trying to figure out if there's a parachute around.
Right.
We've done some heavy research, so I'm fully behind it, fully in, both energy-wise, mentally, financially. I think when we look at it, we've got a number of folks who are interested as investors with us. And I'll tell you, for anybody watching today that's interested in that, I love it for the fact that we all have a commonality in terms of mindset, right? We know that, can a facility make money? Sure, that's easy enough. But I think everybody that we're talking to likes it for the fact that it will improve a community. It will help youth sports grow and give these kids a balance between not just physical fitness, but I think giving them the mental tools to be able to handle the pressures that they have. So for example, when we look at it, right, and you've dealt with this with a lot of these college students, but imagine, you're at that age where you're trying to balance schoolwork, right? Maybe a job outside of school, family, a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be, as well as your coach telling you, hey, you're not playing your position right? There's a lot of pressure on you. And I think we want to make sure that mentally, right, that these kids have the tools to be able to handle that without bursting out, right? And I think mental wellness, like, you had Kasim Outlaw on the show, who's just phenomenal. I'll tell you him out. Yeah. But it's great when he talks about mindfulness and kind of that spirituality. And I think for us, we want to make sure that these kids feel very proud of who they are, right? Some of them, if they go pro, God bless them. Most of them won't, right? But I think if we can have kids who come out that are, blessed to be able to have this facility, but to be able to come out and be strong, contributing citizens, you couldn't ask for anything more.
And, the investment, really, truly, Mark, the investment is not in the physical structure of the building. The investment is in our kids' futures, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Everybody. So if there's anybody out there on Soccer Coach TV who's got some deep pockets, what a great opportunity to get involved with something that's going to be life-changing, not just for the kids, but for parents, for a whole entire community. And what a legacy you've got. So if you are interested in the Smith Arenas, and you can consider investing with Mark. So let me just tell you, you can reach Mark, go to smitharenas.com, or you can email him at marksmith@smitharenas.com. Have a chat with him and find out in and outs. Is there a minimum investment that you're looking for? I mean, if somebody wanted to throw in 50 grand, would you be interested, or?
Sure.
Or would it have to be like, in the millions?
Yeah. So Sean, the area we're from, we don't have friends and family that just randomly have $100 million sitting around. Right. I think a lot of our investors are smaller investors like that. So, we have a full, you got to have a legal basis on this. So we've got the whole membership agreement set up, but yeah, We have $25,000 buy-ins, which is really nice.
Okay.
We've got some folks that love to invest much heavier than that, and that's fine, right? But we allow for different echelons to be a part of that.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Mark, thank you so much. It's so interesting. And you're the type of people who shape the kids' future, who shape soccer in different levels. Okay. And I really appreciate you being my guest today on Soccer Coach TV. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So much fun. Thank you. Thank you, Coach.
And to all my fans or followers, whatever you want to call them out there in Soccer Coach TV world, thanks again. I'll be back shortly with another great interview. Good day.